Hey guys, welcome back to my comic review series on IDW Sonic the Hedgehog, where I cover each and every issue. Today I am doing a review of issue 12, which centers around the aftermath of the Battle for Angel Island arc, now exclusively titled The Cost of the Battle for Angel Island. As usual, I'm going to provide some recap of the events leading up to this point. Neo Metal Sonic has taken over Angel Island and the Master Emerald in his possession, prompting Sonic and the game to group up and form into 3 teams. Team 1 consisting of only Blaze, Team 2 consisting of Amy, Tails, Rouge, Silver, Tangle, Whisper, and the Chaotix, and Team 3 consisting of Sonic and Knuckles, with Shadow eventually joining in for additional support. After losing his super form in the process, Neo Metal Sonic begins to transform into his final form, Master Overlord, and attacks the Resistance. With the real superpower teamwork, all teams work together to retaliate against the Behemoth. After a significant struggle, Tails manages to ram the battleship into Metal Sonic, distracting him and giving Knuckles enough time to push the Master Emerald out of the core, defeating Neo Metal once and for all as he reverts to his original state. During all of this, an unfamiliar figure named Dr. Starline appears, who had employed Rough and Tumble, the 2 skunk mercenaries, to kidnap Mr. Tinker, who is the amnesiac version of Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik. After claiming he has made his own career after studying Eggman, he places goggles on his face and electrocutes him, hoping to bring him back to his villainous self. And it all leads up to this very issue, where it will explore the aftermath of the Metal Sonic fight and uncover more about Dr. Starline's true motives. The main cover for this issue features something shockingly new for this series. Sonic himself is not present in the cover, marking the first time he is not featured on a cover A-art. Instead, it shows Metal Sonic, who is depicted being restrained by change in a seemingly dark room. This was drawn by Evan Stanley, and the coloring was handled by Matt Herms. The cover itself reminds me of that of issue 39 of the Archie series, which already looked pretty menacing, but this one takes it on a whole new level, where Metal Sonic stares into your soul in a very frightening way, almost as though it's a jump scare moment. I would be freaked out too. The plot starts up with what exactly the main cover revealed, as Tails is the one who has Metal Sonic restrained in chains, and that the seemingly dark room was actually a hidden laboratory. Tails confirms that Metal's abilities have been reverted to normal after being disconnected from the Master Emerald. Now that his necessary repairs have been finished, Tails asks if Sonic is sure if it's okay to reactivate him, to which the Blue Blur replies, stating that the odds are on their side, and Tails actuates Metal Sonic. Upon waking up, Metal Sonic sees Sonic, breaks out of the chains, and almost jumps him, but collapses due to being heavily weakened, and Sonic catches him, who likely predicted that this could happen. He tells the bot that the battle between them is officially over, Eggman is now out of the picture, and that he doesn't owe him anything anymore. He decides that it would be best if they could call a truce, hoping Metal will change, live his own life, and that they don't necessarily need to see each other again as long as no harm is done. However, the stubborn Metal Sonic is clearly not interested in any of that, and instead responds by aggressively slapping Sonic's hand and immediately takes off. Tails asks if he's alright and wonders why they shouldn't go after the robot. Sonic replies that they can at least honor his decision at how he wants to live after giving him a chance, and Tails agrees and says that at the very least, he doesn't have Eggman to repair or weaponize him anymore. Alright, we're 3 pages in and there are already a few things wrong with this scene. 1. Sonic clearly has not learned from the events of issues 5 and 6, where he initially didn't trust the amnesiac Eggman at first, but immediately changes his mind later on. Then when Shadow shows up and tries to kill the man, and when they fight, Sonic makes very erroneous excuses, and even went as far to compare him to Eggman, which is very messed up on his behalf. 2. Why is he once again giving an enemy a second chance? Like, come on Sonic, you saw that Metal was about to jump you before falling down, meaning that he could still be a threat. 3. Why don't you keep him shut down permanently? Or better yet, destroy him completely? What if he ends up finding Eggman or some other person who's also capable of repairing now that he took off? You're literally making a big mistake. Normally I'd save this rant for the thoughts and opinions segment, and I will eventually, but I felt the need to bring it up now since this was the first thing I found to be very nonsensical. Meanwhile, in Final Egg, Dr. Starline is shown to be distraught as his attempts to restore Eggman's memories have failed after 3 sessions. Wait, so you electrocuted him 3 times during those sessions? He should be dead! Anyways, After all the failed attempts, the amnesiac Eggman starts gravitating to his old machines. Ruff is also tired of this and tells Starline about the promise he made to them that if they found Eggman, he'd make weapons for them as part of the deal after the former spun them from jail. Well, there's my answer as to how they're out of prison. Tumble states that they're gonna need serious firepower in order to take revenge against Sonic, which is why they requested weapons during the deal. Dr. Starline then assures them that he will continue trying to restore Eggman's memory so that they'll get their weapons, suggesting that he might need some emotional or mental triggering. I feel like that last part might be true. During this moment, Orbot and Cubot are hiding behind a crate while listening to the conversation. They come up to him, and Cubot tries to get him to dismantle him and Orbot, while Orbot suggests that Eggman should review a list of eldritch creatures that he may want to resurrect and lose control over. Okay, that has to be one of the best jokes in the comic. That was good. They are thus confused by Mr. Tinker's genuine comments, as Orbot wonders if they even want the old Eggman back. Suddenly, everyone hears a loud screeching noise coming towards the location, and it just so happens to be Metal Sonic. Oh boy, this is not good. Mr. Tinker approaches him and is about to repair him, and this happens. His memory gets triggered, and we get a brief flashback of Eggman repairing Metal Sonic, assuming this was after the events of Sonic Heroes, which makes no sense considering all the events that had happened before this point, that he suddenly remembers, and it causes him to snap out of his Mr. Tinker persona. Yep, Metal Sonic's presence was enough to do away with Eggman's amnesia and restore his memories, and through mere coincidence no less. Now that the mad scientist we know and don't love is back, he demands everyone around him to tell them who they are and why he's in a handyman getup. Dr. Starline, who is very joyful that his plan finally succeeded, introduces himself to Eggman and is a deep admirer of his work. Eggman acknowledges while he has Metal Sonic get on the table and orders Orbot and Cubot to get him real clothes. Starline explains the full reasonings for Eggman's current condition due to his memory loss after the battle with Sonic and the Resistance members. He ended up in a remote mountain village, which is called Windmill Village, and Starline located him there using his own methods and had his subordinates, Ruff and Tumble, rescue him and bring him here. As soon as Eggman asks who they are, the two skunks introduce themselves by doing their Universe wannabe poses and calling out their own names. Of course they're going to do this again. It was already ridiculous when they did it in issue 3, so I don't blame Eggman and Starline for viewing them as idiotic weirdos. Though after Starline tells him that they're just as resentful for Sonic as he is, Eggy Boy decides to offer them destructive devices against the Blue Rat, which delights the Goofy mercenaries. Speaking of Goofy, what's up with Ruff's face? Orbot brings in the curtains so that Eggman can change into his regular outfit. As he does this, he asks Starline how he managed to get him back to his old self. Starline replies by explaining that he administered neurostimulants and aggressive hypnotherapy, which by the way would have failed if Metal Sonic didn't show up here. He also mentions an object called a warped topaz, a rare and unique gemstone that he acquired, which he spent his entire career researching. He elaborates that the warped topaz can warp through space to create gateways, meaning portals, to other places where the user can teleport to with a power source provided. It also has capabilities that are different from that of the Chaos Emeralds, and perhaps the Soul Emeralds even. Eggman passes up on it, stating that he's had his fair share of strange new magic stones. What new magic stones? You've only ever used one. Starline then reveals the real magic stones he had secured that Eggman has more experience with, and they are the Chaos Emeralds. Well, that answers my question from the last review. Dr. Starline had all 7 emeralds this entire time, and he's apparently better at finding them than Sonic and company are. This delights Eggy Boy, and he now accepts Dr. Starline as his new lackey. I guess Starline's career out of studying his idol really paid him off after all. The scene cuts to the hero's current progress on Angel Island. Sonic checks in on Knuckles, telling him that the island is safe and is completely intact. He also says that Tails is able to get the battleship up and running again after hitting Master Overlord with it, and everyone is on board, ready to head back to the Resistance HQ. Knuckles decides not to join them, and chooses to stay on the island, remembering that he still needs to take his duties seriously by guarding the Master Emerald. Makes sense considering all these shenanigans that have happened up to this point. Sonic offers to him that he can always keep in touch if he gets lonely, but Knuckles thinks that Sonic might bring trouble to his island and get him involved as well. Sonic reminds him about being the leader of the Resistance, more importantly, remotely leading them. Knuckles thinks about it for a few seconds, but he considers it disbanded as he sees no point in forming another Resistance now that Metal Sonic is the least of his problems. Sonic accepts Knuckles' decision and leaves with a casual goodbye, in which Knuckles responds by nonchalantly going, "Whatever, get off my island." I love how chill he is throughout the scene. I love IDW Knuckles so much, bro. He'll always be goated in my eyes. Sonic runs back to the battleship and meets up with Amy and asks her, "What you doing?" Amy is currently taking inventory for what's left on the ship, which are tons of raw materials that could provide usefulness for reconstruction efforts. She notes that this will make Knuckles mentally bored, which is why she is doing this on her own. Sonic ultimately breaks it to her that Knuckles had just declared that the Resistance is disbanded, much to her annoyance. Team Chaotix arrive and talk to Amy, expecting payment for their completed case, which was the whole Mr. Tinker fiasco that happened in issues 5 and 6, as well as the impersonator for the real Eggman, who was Neo Metal Sonic. Espio and Charmy also believe that this case should earn them a substantial reward. While Amy clearly has no idea what to do, Sonic decides to leave her, calling her Madam Executive of the Resistance. Aww, he loves her so much. Big moment for Sun Amy fans, myself included. He goes to check up on Tango and Whisper, asking them if they're ready to take their leave. Tango somewhat considers wanting to head back, but happily expresses that the past few days have been ecstatic, such as fighting badniks and a giant dragon-like robot, leading to her choosing not to go back to her old life. Sonic asks Whisper if she feels the same way, but Tango cuts in and says that Whisper is fun to hang out with and asks her to repeat a joke for Sonic to hear. Whisper appears shy about it and remains quiet, putting her mask back on, much to Tango's confusion. Sonic leaves while telling Tango to give her some space. Tango is such a good character. I love her so much. Like literally at this point. He goes to check up on Blaze and Silver, who are both having a conversation about the former going back to her world since she has fulfilled her purpose and the Soul Emeralds need to be returned. As for Silver, he's going to stay as he feels that a real threat from the future timeline he escaped from has not presented itself yet. See my issue 8 review for more details. Sonic tells Silver to not make it sound so dire as he sees it as an opportunity for them to interact more, which Silver thoroughly agrees with his optimism, and with Blaze basically pointing out that it's typical of Sonic's character. Have to say that I love this moment between the three of them, literally giving me vibes to that Sonic Colors cutscene. Oh boy, here comes everybody's favorite scene in this issue. Sonic sees Rouge chilling on Eggman's beach chair, which she called Private Stash, and thought it wouldn't be fair to let it go to waste. Sonic wonders if Eggy Boy even goes outside at all to have a casual routine, but Rouge states that the doctor primarily uses it as a meticulous cardio regimen, which confirms Sonic's suspicion. He then asks her if she's going back to her spying duties once they return home, and Rouge replies that she's always open to anything as she's a girl of all talents, and how she's currently enjoying this tropical getaway as well as having another excuse to stare at the Master Emerald, which makes sense to Sonic since he knows Rouge likes to bother Knuckles on her time. He ain't wrong though. As he questions Shadow's departure, Rouge confirms that he has indeed left to screw off to whatever else and never looked back again, as we already saw him do in the previous issue. Typical Mr. Edgelord. As Sonic takes his leave, he tells Rouge to send Shadow some kind regards, and Rouge agrees to pass it along if she gets the chance, though he might not listen to her. She blew Sonic a kiss! Shadow knows anybody? Jokes aside, I love their interaction. Their conversations always bring me joy every time. Thank you, Sonic Twitter. Lastly, he meets up with Tails, who states that they are ready to take off. The battleship rises and starts to leave Angel Island as Knuckles watches while he's ore farming. Yeah, Knucklehead, we see the fit. After the takeoff, Sonic congratulates his best buddy for fixing the battleship quickly. Tails remarks that Eggman's tech is notorious to be put together, but is glad they were able to launch it at the very least. Knowing that things can still work out no matter the circumstance, they both give each other a proud thumbs up and hope for a better adventure. We cut back to Dr. Eggface and Starline, who find that Neo Metal Sonic's biodata that was copied from Sonic and Shadow had been corrupted. Eggman notes that while Neometal was close to his own goal, he decides not to finish what the robot started and instead conducts a new plan, stating that it's time for a change of pace! The Doctor puts Starline in charge of distracting Sonic, which Starline is very honored to carry out the task. Bro is literally fanboying so hard right here. Eggman walks downstairs and finds Rough and Tumble complaining about how they're supposed to use weapons based on the blueprints Eggman previously specified with. Eggman takes the blueprints and switches them to the opposite, and now they understand it. They could have done that the whole time? How are they this dumb? Also, I love how Eggman doesn't even say anything to them. He's so dumb with their crap, and his reaction here mirrors exactly what I said. Poor Eggy Boy has to deal with their antics. Afterwards, he walks into another room with Orbot and Cubot following. He reveals a deadly looking virus contraption through a hologram, which he will use to make the world suffer after he experienced a similar fate during his last setback. This sets up the events of a widely popular arc considered by several fans, the Metal Virus Saga. This issue was, for the most part, a good send-off of the entire Neo-Metal Sonic saga that began with issue 1. Throughout the past 11 issues, we got to see every single character up to this point shine with their own abilities, personalities, and humor. This issue does a spectacular job culminating all the previous events into the Battle for Angel Island arc and ends it with a satisfying conclusion and sets up an all new one. Let's discuss the highlights. Like the last two issues, Tracy Yardley and Evan Stanley partnered with each other to work on the art for this one. This time, the art style changes for a total of 3 times. Evan has drawn the art for pages 1 to 9, Tracy has drawn the art for pages 10 to 17, and Evan comes back one last time for the last 3 pages. I got nothing more to say on this since it's the exact same thing from the last 2 issues, so watch my reviews on them for more information. I will say that I'm glad they addressed a nitpick that I had with issue 11, where I found it off-putting that it switched to Evan's style during the same scene. In this issue, aside from the scene where Sonic and Tails have Metal Sonic chained up in a room on the ship, Evan's style is used mostly on the Eggman subplot, while Tracy's style is used in the main plot. It's like the heroes and villains get their own version of an art style, and I like this approach. It works well, and they don't feel out of place this time. I also love the way Evan draws Eggman. Even after he got his memories back, he still looked very goofy in most instances, like how in this panel where he walks out of a room with a ludicrous smile. And his expressions when he reacts to Rough and Tumble shenanigans are especially priceless. But yeah, other than that, there's nothing more to add on the style changes. They both still look visually wonderful, and I still commend the respective artists for capturing the essence and accuracy of the character designs. Next highlight is Sonic checking in with all of his friends. This is my favorite part of the issue. Since there's nothing evil to fight, everybody's all chill, relaxed, excited, laid back, and take the time to have a conversation with him. This shows how much Sonic has a more caring personality than most people perceive him to be. He's more than just a guy that loves adventure, or a guy who's got the attitude, or someone who's the fastest thing alive. He's willing to see how everybody is doing after the battle, and he's respected by everyone, including Rouge. I mentioned in my issue 1 review where he's got a carefree spirit but is still willing to help those who are in need of assistance, and that is still true here, almost. I also like his interactions with them as well. Segueing into another highlight in the issue is going to be about my boy Knuckles the Knucklehead. I've already mentioned this numerous times at this point, but I'm a huge fan of IDW's portrayal of this iconic echidna and how he's written similarly to his roles in the Dreamcast era games, and his portrayal here excels on it much more further than in even issue 3. He doesn't start beef with anyone, he isn't used for one-off cheap gags, nor is he blatantly stupid. He's smart, obedient, responsible, and self-confident, which is why he sticks to his guns on staying on his home and takes his duty very seriously by protecting the Master Emerald. It seems as though this choice was made in response to a common fan criticism where Knuckles not being on Angel Island to guard the Master Emerald is always questioned and is never explained why it is the case. Here's my response to this. My best guess is that the reason Knuckles isn't seen guarding the Master Emerald in most games after Adventure 2 is because if he knows there's a potential threat, then he might have had no choice but to join Sonic and the gang, which is what he does in games like Sonic Heroes, Sonic Advance 3, Shadow the Hedgehog 05, and Sonic 06. He needed to be there for extra support. Even the TV series such as Sonic Underground and Sonic X exemplified this subject. In other cases though, like in Sonic Rush, Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, Sonic Lost World, and maybe even the Riders series, where there wasn't anything evil for him to fight, he still decided to leave Angel Island to join the gang anyway, and all of these show that Sonic and company can still be supported by him, no matter the circumstance. So it's really not that deep if he's on the island or not. The only issue with this, however, is that why doesn't he hire somebody to guard the Master Emerald while he's away? Why doesn't he create security measures and traps on the island and keep it secured in a safer location? That's kind of a missed opportunity on his end, and it would have saved him tons of trouble. This was something that he did in the Archie comics, where he hid a Chaos Emerald, which basically took the role of the Master Emerald, underneath Angel Island to keep it in a safe place, although Eggman was still able to discover it by tunneling down through its surface, attaching a command base to it. This did outsmart Knuckles until he smashed the Chaos Emerald Eggman was powering, later revealing it to be a fake and had the real emerald hidden under some rocks, which confirms that he outsmarted Eggman back, and it was such a clever move. In another issue, he has Mighty watch over Angel Island while he heads to Robotropolis, indicating that Mighty has gained his trust throughout their history of being teammates and eventually friends. There was also an exposition plot point in that issue that justifies his absence on the island. This is one of several things that Archie did better than the game series, and it no doubt makes me wonder why Game Knuckles never took both of these things into consideration. Sonic Boom even made fun of this fan criticism.
People have been complaining that I don't guard enough rare stones.
And that is something IDW Knuckles could have tried to do as well. Neo Metal Sonic wouldn't have caused him and everybody else so much trouble should he had done that. But either way, I'm still happy with how they went through with this plot throughout the saga, and that Neo Metal was brought in. See my issue 7 review for more information. Another moment that I like from Knuckles in this issue is the way he goes, "Get off my island." I don't know why that makes me laugh so much, it's so funny. It reminds me of that scene from issue 12 of Sonic Universe, where after he beats Dr. Venetivis, he said the exact same line while throwing him off the island. It makes me wonder if Ian Flynn did this on purpose, since he wrote the story for that issue too. I need to hear him say this in the next game. It's too funny, but at the same time, so cool, which fits his entire personality. Next highlight is Dr. Starline's true ambitions for why he idolizes Dr. Eggman. In the last issue where he first appeared, he said that he made a career out of studying Eggman, and that was all we knew about him. In this issue, he explains his full purpose for why he made a career, how he employed Rough and Tumble, and his use of the Warp Topaz. First off, the initial efforts of restoring Eggman's memories. Based on Dr. Starline's information throughout the subplot of the issue, it seems that he was aware of the ongoing conflicts that were committed by Neo Metal Sonic, who was disguised as Eggman at the time. As he mentions in this issue, he found a Warp Topaz, and no, not the Sonic X character Topaz, the gemstone called the Warp Topaz. He uses this to create localized portals to transport to another area instantly. He also discovered during his time of researching that the Warp Topaz needed a power source in order to properly utilize it. At some point after the events of Sonic Forces, Starline discovered that Eggman went missing after the battle. This is when the Topaz comes in handy, and he decides to use it to his advantage to track Eggman down. Starline eventually locates him in Windmill Village, where he sustained memory loss. This may have likely happened after the events of issue 6. However, he needed some assistance in order to remain undiscovered by the Resistance. Using the Warp Topaz, he finds Rough and Tumble rotting in a jail cell and helps them escape, but not before making a deal. They capture Eggman, bring him into the final egg so that he can restore his memories, and they'll earn weapons. Starline tries this process 3 times, but fails miserably. Had it not been for Metal Sonic conveniently showing up at the right place and at the right time, this definitely would not have gone as he had planned. Second off, his extreme loyalty to Eggman. It's pretty clear at this point that Starline is one of the biggest fanboys for Eggman in any form of Sonic media, right up there with Dave the Intern from Sonic Boom and Agent Stone from the Sonic movies. This man literally spent most of his life obsessing over Eggman, made an entire career out of studying his moves and intelligence, did an incredible amount of research on a random gemstone, and employs 2 grunty mercenaries to bring in his idol. That in of itself would make him a creep if you think about it, but at least he had a motivation for why he did it, and that's what I like about his character. One moment here that I found amusing was the way he jumped for joy as he goes, "Finally!" when Eggman fully regained his memories. You can see that he waited so long for this moment after all the trouble that he went through to properly meet his idol. Bro is literally the Sonic fanbase on Twitter when they are excited to see the Babylon roads make their return in Sonic Racing Crossworlds. Overall, Dr. Starline is an excellent addition to Sonic's new cast of villains, and the fact that he went through being a fan to a subordinate of Eggman was fantastic, and I look forward to seeing his next roles in the series. Before I get to the next positive highlight, there is one major flaw in this issue: Sonic letting Metal Sonic go. This is yet another one of the dumbest things Sonic has ever done. He has not learned from the events of issue 6, and this shows how incredibly naive he is. For some idiotic reason, he thought it would be the best idea to call a truce with a robotic version of himself who literally gave him and his friends so much trouble and even tried to jump him. Metal Sonic is not going to change. It's not like he'd immediately turn over a new leaf and give up his ways, and when he gets away, Sonic doesn't give chase and instead believes that he can live the way he wants to. What? No! That's not how it works. He just slapped your hand. Why would you still believe that? And what's worse, nothing good comes out of it anyway, since Metal finds Eggman's base and Eggman himself, very conveniently I might add, and he was able to restore the Doctor's memories easily. Therefore, this is a mistake. A big mistake. Everything was fine, but this was the only thing that I found egregiously stupid. Ian Flynn, I love you, and you're one of the best writers the series has to offer, but you're gonna have to take an L for this one. It's one of the only times I'll ever be critical of him, and I'm being nice here, unlike all those crazy Sonic fans on Twitter who have gone on to harass him over a 7-year-old tweet. You can dislike him all you want, you can criticize him all you want, but don't commit harassment against him, and don't make blatant lies about him based on past takes he made. Like, pretty please. Case in point, I am starting to see why several people criticize Sonic in this series, and it's mostly based on his naiveness and softness, and that's going to end up being prevalent in later issues. Now back to the positives. Next highlights are the references, allusions, and callbacks. First, the chains that are holding up Metal Sonic in the beginning of the issue seem to be similar to the harness that held up Shard in issue 238 of the Archie series. Second, the scene of Metal Sonic taking off after refusing Sonic's truce offer is a reference to a fan-made comic strip made by Evan Stanley for her own comic series, which she posted on her DeviantArt page almost 6 years before this issue's release. Third, and my favorite, this throwaway joke exclaimed by Orbot is a reference to a trope in the mainline games where Eggman tried to use godlike creatures such as Chaos and Dark Gaia for his own benefit of creating Eggmanland, only to be betrayed by them. I love this joke so much, and it's one of the best ever written in this series. Fourth, Eggman mentioning that he's had his fill of strange new magic stones is a reference to his discovery of the Phantom Ruby in Sonic Mania and Sonic Forces. Fifth, Sonic mentions that Silver is capable of traveling back to the future, but in ways he's never shown doing. This could be a reference to a controversy on how he was able to time travel in the games other than 06, and his presence in Sonic Rivals and onwards complicating things. There could be more to this that I might have missed, so feel free to correct me in the comments. 6. Rouge says Shadow is gone, never to look back again. This is a reference to a very underrated song that doesn't get enough love, Never Turn Back from Shadow the Hedgehog 2005.
I guess I'm doing alright and I'm on my way, facing every moment, day by day. Take a chance, one by, got no time to answer why. Head straight, head straight. And what will I become if I don't look back? Give myself a reason for this and that.
7th and last, when Eggman begins with a new plan, he goes, "Time for a change of pace!" This is the riff from the Egg Dragoon boss from Sonic Generations, where he will often say this line every time he does a specific attack. And that's all the references, allusions, and callbacks I've been able to catch and analyze. These are still my favorite parts of writing these reviews, as I have been a fan of this franchise for 20 years and I know every single thing about it, which makes this segment worth it for the discussion. All in all, while this was a good send-off for the Battle for Angel Island saga, it gets points off for Sonic's inept naiveness, and it will lead to very dire consequences in future issues. Those who have read the whole book will know exactly what I'm talking about. For this, I'll be giving it a 5 out of 10. The second lowest score I've given to an IDW Sonic issue, with issue 6 still being the lowest of them all. In your typical IDW fashion, we have 2 variant covers created for every single issue, giving readers alternative ways to purchase and read the series. Let's go over and analyze. I'm a bit confounded with what they decided to go for with cover B, since most of the cover B arts would normally represent the setting of each issue, but for this one, they instead used concept artwork of Dr. Starline, with some pieces of him clearly edited in just to fit the cover size. I'm guessing they couldn't come up with a unique way to represent the setting of the issue's plot, and I find it very inconsequential considering there are so many talented artists in this company. Oh well, I'll take what we can get, I suppose. This was drawn by Evan Stanley. The RI cover is a good step up from where the other failed at. Eggman is shown to be creating mechanical doll replicates of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, which is a reference to the one seen in the final X stage from Sonic Adventure. This does technically chronicle the events of the story, since Eggman is no longer Mr. Tinker and is back to doing basic Eggman things. The amount of shading and dark contrast used in the cover makes his depiction here more intimidating than ever. Another Nathalai Fortran cover art that I love. Looking forward to her next one for the next issue. I find it hard to believe how this issue got the most bland and useless cover B art while also having one of the best RI cover arts in the comic. I don't think Archie Sonic used concept art of a character for a cover, so I'm not sure why the IDW team thought it would be a good idea. I'll even take issue 5's least appealing variant covers any day over this one. Thankfully, the RIB cover makes up for that flaw. Before I end this video, there is one thing that I want to talk about that obviously has nothing to do with this review, and it's something that has caught my attention after seeing so many posts about it on my Twitter feed. And that is the 80th issue, the most recent IDW Sonic issue that just released at the time of this video. I decided to pick it up off of eBay just to see why everyone on Twitter liked it, why they were posting tons of panels of it, and upon reading it myself, they were not kidding. Big disclaimer, I am currently not caught up with every single issue of the series, as I have still not read the Phantom Riders arc yet, so I don't know the full context that leads up to this point, so no spoilers please. This issue takes place during the most recent arc for the series, Scattered Pieces. I'll be mostly going over the writing of the characters and its art style, and I'll do my best to explain it all in short. The issue features Sonic and Team Chaotix embarking on a quest and are assisted by Shadow and Rouge. This has some of the best writing in the entire series, Team Chaotix still getting more love as they should, Shadow actually being on good terms with everyone around him, doesn't act like an arrogant edgelord, and caring for the safety, and smiling even. The Interceptor bots from Sonic Unleashed are back, Espio and Rouge interacting for the first time since Sonic Rifles 2, Espio karate chopping a keyboard just like what Shadow did in the Shadow 05 game, Charmin getting an epic moment as he should, Vector still being a cool detective, and let's not forget the best panel with Sanuj. I love this. So happy my Sonic Universe issue 2 review from 2019 aged well. And the art by Aaron Hammerstrom, chef's kiss. I am beyond impressed that IDW still gets these characters and knows how to properly use them for a substantial purpose. Even after 80 issues, they still show what made this series so great. Ian Flynn, this is some of your best writing yet. I seriously cannot wait for that graphic novel for this arc to be released next year, and I'm going to be immediately flipping over several pages just to get to this issue and read it over and over and over again. This is without a doubt one of the best issues in the entire IDW Sonic series. It's a shame that it'll be a couple of years before I finally give this issue its full review video, but it was worth the price. Big shout out to the IDW Sonic Twitter. Now back to the actual review. So that's the end of my IDW Sonic issue 12 review. It continues to show what made IDW Sonic so great, despite my critical view of Sonic's continued naiveness. What stands out the most are Dr. Starline's true motivations that first came about in the previous issue, Knuckles' characterization, everybody respecting Sonic when he checks on them, and Dr. Eggy Boy returning to cause havoc once more, all of which to be excited for in the next major arc. If you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this whole review. Next time we'll be taking a look at the IDW Sonic the Hedgehog Annual 2019, which takes place in between issues 12 and 13. I will explain why once I get to it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next review.